It's recording. Hey, Viri.
Hi, amiga.
So good to have you. I'm super excited. So, Viri Ponce from VP Consulting and Amigas Empresarias, plus a whole bunch of other things that she's going to share with us today. One of my most dearest friends, have known each other for such a long time, and I'm just so proud of you, Viri, for what you've been doing the past years, how you continue to elevate yourself and really uplift women entrepreneurs, Latinas, the community, and you are just a power woman, so motivational. So I'm excited today for you to share what you've been up to and how we can work with you. You just a little background on you is that you've done trainings, coachings, you have a background in accounting, and you also consult with small businesses to help them launch, scale, and also obtain funding is so important. You've shared, I know that's such a big issue in small businesses succeeding. So definitely want to hear about that. And also you do a lot of work with the community, which is also so important, is that you not only work hard, but you have a lot of fun and you always connect back to your community and where you came from. So thank you for being here, and let's get started. First, I want to know, tell us something you're grateful for from this week that you can share.
I love that question. I actually, anytime I have a training, Sandra, or a workshop, that is one of the things that I ask the participants to share. And I think I actually learned that from you. So thank you so much for asking me that question as well. So one of the things that I'm grateful for this week is that I've been so fortunate to have so much work despite all the craziness and all the uncertainty that we're living in. And so I right now I've had a lot of work, and actually this Friday I had an event that I've been working on for almost a year now, and this was for food entrepreneurs that I've been teaching over the last 2 years. And we had a virtual marketplace, and we had over 80 attendees. And so I was so grateful that this idea that I had came to fruition, and that the food entrepreneurs that I work with were able to showcase their businesses in front of 80 participants. So that's something that I'm really grateful for.
That is so awesome. I love that, Viri. So tell us about how you got started, because what you've been doing the past couple of years, I mean, you've been working so hard, but give us a little bit more behind the scenes of how you came to be VP Consulting. What interested you in business, and how did that start?
Okay, should we take it way back? Do we want to go how far back do we want to go, amiga?
Flashback. Take it back to the archives. Let's go.
Yeah, I am gonna take it back to my home country, to Mexico. So
vámonos, let's do it.
Vámonos. So when I was 2-3 years old, me trajeron. They brought me from Mexico. And so when my mom and I moved to the United States, my family had a small business. And so that's kind of where it all started, that this was my world, what I grew up in. And just growing up, I would have different types of businesses, because my first business that I had was selling Shakira jewelry. And I started it because I really wanted to buy myself a Game Boy. And so I was like, I want a Game Boy really bad. And so I'm going to make some jewelry and sell it to all these little girls at the parties. And so it was just kind of something, that I always was really interested in, numbers and selling, the marketing. But I think the numbers, it's what was really attractive to me, and calculating stuff out. And so it was something I grew up with, and then went to college, studied business with a focus on accounting. Once again, the numbers, right, was something that it always came natural to me, and I just always wanted to compute things and understand the relationship of numbers. And then fast forward, after I graduated from college, I went into auditing, and I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. And I just, I felt like kind of like Goldilocks, where I had to try different things out to see what was going to be that right fit for me. And for a long time, I thought it was the nonprofit world. And so I went from doing auditing at a global firm to going to a medium-sized auditing firm focusing on nonprofits. Then I went into nonprofits doing financial analysis, and it was just like, it wasn't the right fit. And so it was until I decided to take a leave of absence, and I ended up going to Latin America. And just by talking to people and connecting with people, I had this opportunity to teach business classes. And that was the first time where I was like, boom, like it just blew my mind. I was like, this is what I want to be doing. And so that's what really, I think, along with like my family business and then my love for numbers and understanding that relationship, and then knowing that this was a possibility, is what kind of just like ignited something in me. And also that I came back from this leave of absence from work, but I was still really unhappy. And I remember asking myself a really simple question, which is the question that changed my life. And I asked myself, because I would come home really sad, really tired, and most of all, like really sad, because I knew I wasn't in the right place. And I asked myself, I was like, Viri, what do you want to do? And I remember answering myself. I remember what the light was like. I remember what I was eating, who I was with, like everything of that moment. And I remember saying, I want to work and help people like my family. And so, like I said, I was like Goldilocks trying to figure out where I really belonged. And 6 years ago, I decided to start VP Consulting. And so it's been 6 years of being able to do that, to help people out like my family, which are a lot of my clients are Latinos. I'm not only specifically focused on Latinos, but that was kind of what drove me to work with people.
Yeah, that's so powerful that that moment you're describing, I mean, even you describing it, I could feel how powerful that was for you, that depth of knowing. And what along the way, a lot of us sometimes have mentors or very pivotal people that come into our lives that help us change that perspective, or you're just in a different place where you can see things differently. Share with us some of those moments, some of those people that were pivotal.
You know, I'm not sure if it was necessarily like one specific person, more so than a whole community and a whole bunch of different people along, I think along my life that have really influenced me. I think, you know, my family, of course, because they were the owners of this small business. And so just learning a lot from them about what worked and what didn't work, and seeing how much it meant, like seeing all the challenges that a small business has. And, you know, maybe I saw the challenges of not knowing, like for example, accounting, right? And not knowing how to do proper marketing. And so that was really impactful in my life of what, in terms of like what I needed to learn to be able to help my family out. But that for me was, my family was one of the biggest mentors, because they're the ones that first exposed me to this small business world. And I saw the benefits and the independence of being your own boss. From there, I think that another person that was really important in my life was my partner, because when I was planning out my business, he was always really encouraging and always just like motivating me and pushing me and always challenging me. And I thought that was really great, because he would always push me. always push me, and he'd be like, you're brilliant. And it's really amazing to have that support and someone saying like, you're going to be able to do it. Maybe at that point I wasn't realizing what I was capable of, but it was amazing to have that support for someone saying like, you're going to do it. I already see you doing that. And then I would say that the third person would be my business partner from Amigas Empresarias, who the first time I saw her teaching a class, I was just like blown away with her.
Yes, I remember you even told me about her. That's how much you were so inspired and drawn to her.
Yeah, and I loved how, and I mean, and you know her as well, so you know this is so true. Just how much empathy and how much patience she has with everybody around her is just so incredible, and just how inspirational she is. And so for me, she was a person who I really look up to, and and we actually worked together at a previous job, so that was really awesome that we got to work together. But I think one of the biggest lessons that I learned from her was to be my authentic self, and not to want to strive to be like anyone, or to try and strive to be like her, because I remember when I was going to start teaching, I was like, I can't be so soft-spoken and so inspirational and so motivating like you. And she's like, you don't need to. She's like, you don't need to. She's like, you just have to be you. And I think those three groups of people have really pushed me and motivated and continue to motivate me up to this day. And actually, my business partner, I have a picture of her and I, like,
there she is.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that, because that is a huge one. When you step into your authentic self, not only do you feel it, but it also comes off to those around you. I mean, I've definitely seen you grow so much, and I've seen how much you love Amigas Empresarias, which we'll talk about a little bit more, and how much that it does bring out your authentic self, how much you care and really connect with entrepreneurs and the women. And so that's such a big lesson. I love that lesson that you're sharing. Tell us also, when you started VP Consulting, what were some advice that you can give for people who are maybe also wanting to start their own business, but from your perspective, that was either challenging or that you can reflect back on some advice?
Thank you so much for these questions, because this really makes me do an inventory of my experiences, and that's something that's so important that we all need to do, and activities that I even do in workshops. And so even these questions were just amazing to make me take me back, right? So I think that some of the suggestions based on my my experience was that I really took the planning really serious for my business, and I spent a whole summer waking up, getting ready, going to a coffee shop like I really had a job, like I was really making money, on this business, and really spend time taking that inventory of what are my strengths, what do I want to focus on, who do I want to work with, and really thinking through what that business model would be. And it was a lot of self-reflection, a lot of questions, a lot of writing, a lot of researching. And I think that whole process was so helpful for me, so that I really felt like I was bringing something to the table, and knowing that I had a solution to something that people, a solution that people were looking for. And so
you kept yourself accountable, like really accountable.
Yeah. And so it was a lot of writing, a lot of prep work. And like I said, it was me getting up, getting ready, driving over to a coffee shop when I was unemployed. So every dollar counts, when you're unemployed. And that was, the way that, yeah, I would hold myself accountable and saying, okay, if I'm going to be spending time and money doing this at a time where I don't have, don't have money, then I really need to make this day and these hours worth it. And so for anyone who is interested in starting a business, I would say we definitely need to spend that time planning, because it will pay off. And it really helps also with your confidence of when you actually go to talk to a client that you're ready. You're ready. You've done your research, you've practiced your pitch, you've got, you've already thought about what questions they're going to ask you. And so the planning, I think, is really important. I would also say that another lesson is, and it goes hand in hand with the planning, is make sure that you research and that you dive into the world or the industry that you are interested in pursuing. And
that's a big one, right? What do you have some stories of maybe examples of clients or in the beginning where how that looks when it goes wrong and how it looks when it goes very well? The two extremes.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I've had a lot of clients who, especially Latino clients, I feel like Latinos, we are risk takers and we will dive into things, right? We're like, yo lo hago, me aviento, like me animo. And that's what I love about our community, right? Que somos aventados and we're like, we'll make it work. But I've seen that when people don't prep that, and they don't do that research and they don't take the time to know, for example, that in the food industry, that restaurants make less than 10%. I think that the 2019 averages for profit for a restaurant was 5.2%. And so sometimes people, they don't know that, and se avientan, they put life savings into a restaurant. They don't have the experience or the background in the restaurant industry. And I've seen the results, and a lot of times it's people that are struggling.
So, and also to give background, because I don't think I mentioned earlier that you help a lot of small business in the food industry launch their products, from tamales to like Peruvian food and everything in between. So in that example that you're giving, was it that they had a really amazing food product, and a lot of times they may think, oh, well, it's a great product, why wouldn't it be successful?
So in the examples that I'm thinking, and I'm thinking kind of even just like in general, because I do teach a lot of food entrepreneurs. And so I think kind of something that I've seen in general is that happens when, they don't do the planning. And I've had clients that have a good product that it doesn't work out. I think that the people that have a really great product, and a lot of times they search for support. And so there's also a lot of other factors in there as well. But the examples, I was giving was just kind of in general, but I've seen people with really great products that have struggled if they don't search for help in the beginning. And so also searching for that support, especially if you have a great product, then you have to search for that support and those resources and figure out what you don't know. And so I think when,
that's true. And Viri, you have been that support, and that's what I'm so excited that you can share with us, because you've been on both sides, right? In starting your own business, and now you help launch so many businesses in the Bay Area and outside. And so want to make sure, how are your clients different than maybe the typical small business owner? Tell us a little bit more about how it is to work with you and to be one of your clients.
Oh, I love that question. So I typically have clients that are they're like in the second, third year mark of their business. So they're clients that already understand their product. and that they have some data in terms of finances. They have a good idea of who their clients are. And I think what all of them have in common is that they know that there's more room for growth, but they may not know how, or they might not know all of the steps to take. They might not know all of the resources that are available. So I think that a lot of my private clients are people that they know that there's more out there for them, and that they know that they have an awesome product or an awesome service that they provide, but they may not know all those steps. So when I work with my clients, I don't know everything, right? I am an expert in a lot of different topics, but I'm not going to know everything. And so my clients, what they receive from me is support, and they receive resources, and they receive a lot of guidance from me. And if I don't understand something, then I find them the right resources and connect them, because I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. Right? I won't be successful that way. And I don't think I'll be setting up my clients for success if I try and do everything for them. But connecting them to different lawyers, connecting them to accountants, connecting them to marketing experts. And so when someone works with me, they can make sure, they'll be sure that they are receiving really honest feedback, and that they are also, I'm my client's biggest cheerleader, so they will be getting a cheerleader as well, and a guide.
Yes, I love that you say you're not going to know everything, because that is so true. The landscape is always changing. I mean, this pandemic is a perfect example. The past 6 months have changed completely everything, and that your clients coming in know not to expect that you're going to have every single thing figured out, but they're willing to be flexible and to work with you. And so maybe share with us what makes it a successful partnership when you're working with your clients. What are some of those characteristics that really right away you're like, wow, this is going to be an amazing journey with this client?
That awesome question, Sandra. Keep them coming. So I think that, well, I want to say a couple of things before that. What was really helpful at the beginning of when I started VP Consulting was that I had experiences that weren't the most positive with certain clients. And that was really hard, because you never want to have a negative experience with the client, but it just helped me change different processes in my business. It helped me even interview my clients, because I learned that I don't have to work with everybody, and that I can't, that it should be a relationship, right? That it's not just a one-way relationship. And so it is really important that you do have a really that it is a good fit. And so before I even just like solidify the working relationship, I do have a meeting where it really is, where we're both trying to figure out if we are going to be a good fit. And the first meeting that I have with clients, they're going to tell me what areas of support they're looking for. I always provide them with resources, even in the first meeting. And it is to see if we can take this relationship further, if I have the expertise that they are looking for. So with that said, I think that there is a process of seeing if we're a good fit for both sides. And then from there, I think that my clients that I've been the most successful with is they understand that it's their business, and that I'm only there to be a guide for them, and I'm their support system. And so I think that when someone understands that about a consultant, that you're not coming in there and you're not actually doing all of the work for them, I think that's really good relationship. I think also having good communication. When with most of my clients, it's just we're answering one another, we're being respectful, but there's that constant communication, and there's that trust with my clients as well. And I also think that something with my most successful clients as well is just we have a good time working together. And I could just one client, it's a trio of women, and they were going from a catering business to a restaurant. And anytime we would go to meetings with contractors or architects or engineers or with anybody, they would always look at us because we would always just have such a great time together and just laugh so much. And I think it really comes from it's a genuine relationship. And knowing that I'm not there to
forced to be there. Nobody's forced to be there.
Yeah, and that we're working shoulder to shoulder, right? That I really do try and be really sympathetic and very empathetic with my clients as well. And I never want to make anyone feel that because they don't know something, like make them feel bad whatsoever, because that's my job. That's what I get paid to do. And so I think when there's that common understanding that we're both working together and that we both have different responsibilities, I think that's when it's a really successful relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that I absolutely love about you, is that you make it fun. And I think that's so important because it doesn't have to always be so serious. Like, you get the work done, you prepare, and you're organized, and you teach your clients also how to be that way. But at the end of the day, you want to have fun and you want to get along with your clients. And so that is such a huge and important part of it. And then, so along with that is also that they respect your knowledge and they respect your experience, which leads me into the next topic of the past 6 months with the pandemic. I'm sure that you've had to really help your clients pivot and find ways to still be successful. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think that at the beginning, like everybody, it was just a confusing time because we had no idea what was going on. I mean, I feel like it's still really uncertain. I think that something I'm really good at is going with the flow and just trying to figure out like what comes next. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I like everybody, I was like, what's gonna happen, right? But I thought, what could I do to assist my clients in these moments? Like, what type of support are they going to need? And so a couple of things were just connecting with my clients on a human level and just checking in on them to making sure that them as a human, not necessarily as a business owner, but first as a human, that, you know, how they were doing, because it was really hard and it's still really hard for, you know, for the majority of us. And so I think one, it was connecting with them on a human level, and then connecting with them as business owners and trying to figure out, you know, what type of support they needed, because I think at the beginning it was hard to understand or to know what type of support we were going to need. And so I think staying connected with them was something that was really important. And also just meeting them where they were at, because I had clients that, you know, some clients that were better off than others. And so meeting them where they were at, and also trying to ask a lot of questions and trying to think of different ways that they could generate money. And I really found that the last 6 months and to be really inspiring from my clients, because I've seen how creative they've been and how resilient they've been. And I know that it hasn't been easy for any of us, but just seeing as well, I teach a lot of classes for an entrepreneurship center, and seeing as well that I taught a lot of classes virtually, and seeing the Latino community taking classes on Zoom, joining in virtually, having them take classes on how to build their website and do things that before I wasn't really seeing. And so out of this whole darkness, there's been some moments of light and moments of inspiration and moments where I'm like, man, if we could do this during this time, like, can you imagine, like, as we continue pushing forward, like how much we're gonna all continue growing. And
yeah.
so
You know, when I attended one of your Zoom workshops a couple of weeks ago, and all women, entrepreneurs, and it was so beautiful, so powerful, because some of these women had never used Zoom, and don't have time to be in the usual normal day-to-day. They have children, they have a family, they're taking care of family and starting their business and growing their business. And so seeing these women who remind us of our mothers, our aunts, was so beautiful. You could really feel that connection, the fun that they were having, but also that they were pushing themselves continuously. And so you continue to do that yourself. Not only do you show them and like you're their cheerleader and you're pushing them, but you also do that for yourself. And so tell us then, because one of the ways that I've seen that you've grown is this Amigas Empresarias, which you started 2 years ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago.
Almost. Oh my goodness! Yes.
I know.
Well, you were also part of the idea. So yeah, about 2 years ago, we started talking about it.
I remember because you had that first event in February.
Yep.
I was recently unemployed because there were layoffs, and you were like, I'm having the event. I'm like, I'll do a meditation. You're like, yeah, can you do a meditation? So that's something that, and you and I have always collaborated in that way, is that you'll have an idea, I'll have an idea, and we find ways to bring each other, pull each other in to share our skills. And so I love that you bring other resources into your community, into your group of women entrepreneurs. But tell us a little more about that and how it's been going.
Thank you. So yeah, first of all, Sandra was such an inspiration for us to also do Amigas Empresarias. So thank you so much, Sandrita, for that. So the idea came up because we saw a need. And throughout the last 2-3 years, I've been teaching a lot more classes and designing different courses. And as I mentioned earlier, I love to do research. And so when I was trying to do research, to do my classes, I realized that there wasn't a lot of classes and business classes that were focused on Latina women in the United States. So I would find courses in Latin America, but not with examples that were relevant to Latina women in the US. And so I thought, well, si no hay, then why don't I create something? And I partnered up with Susana Gama, who I mentioned earlier, as one of my mentors, and she was also in the same wavelength at that moment, where she wanted to celebrate women and share the stories of different entrepreneurs and Latina entrepreneurs. And so that's how the idea came up. Sandra and I we're also talking about that idea and how to bring wellness into it so that it would be a more integral approach. So where we were empowering women and where they were also taking care of their minds and their bodies. That's where, Sandra doing these guided meditations where she came in. And then for me, it was more of doing the technical, the finance, the number side, the business planning side. And so bringing all of those strengths together to form Amigas Empresarias. And so the goal for Amigas Empresarias is to launch all in Spanish business courses, and to do it virtually. And something that I'm really excited, and what I've seen, during these last 6 months, is that now Latinas, they want it, and now they're using technology more so than ever because we're forced to. So it's really exciting to know that we're going to be able to provide technical and empowerment courses in Spanish and for our community. Yeah, right.
Clap for that. And anybody could take these courses, right? If they're virtual, it could be anyone in Spanish wherever they are, which right now that with mobility and technology, it's really changing the landscape. So I'm so excited about that as well. You have to keep us posted.
Yes.
Yeah, and so also with a lot of the changes that have been happening, what was something? Yeah, so you see it evolving into more courses online, and the women who have been part of it. What else do you see that they're needing right now, and how can we, the public, support these small businesses and specifically women of color?
That's an awesome question. So I think what I've been seeing a lot is that, once again, like guiding them, because I think that Latinas and a lot of people, that we sometimes get led by passion, and we'll just dive into a business idea, or we'll start selling a product, but then we don't take the time to plan, or we don't understand what the steps are, what the permits are. And so I think that it is really important that we do, after testing the market, that we figure out how do we formalize our business. And so I feel that and this has been nothing new, right? Nothing new, but I think because right now a lot of people have had to be creative, right? Because there's no other way right now, right? So many people are unemployed, and people are getting creative because they have to get creative. And so I think it's nothing new, but really, needing that guidance. And I think also setting themselves up so that they're using technology more often, I think is something that I've been seeing a lot more, but that I've seen a lot more willingness and urgency, obviously. But I think that's something that could be exciting, because then we're forced for us to continue to develop, right? And continue to grow para que no nos quedemos atrás, right? We can't
We're not, no.
Nope, nope. And that was something that I've always, like, it's really important to me that as a Latina and as an entrepreneur, that our people don't get, that we don't stay behind, right?
And as we know, not to get all political, but those are the people who get forgotten and neglected. And as you said, the resources aren't there in Spanish.
Nope.
They're not very readily available. So this is such an important and valuable, hugely valuable thing that you're doing to provide to the community, and that it needs to be spread out for more people to know about this. And also for a lot of people, especially we see on the social media, a lot of online businesses that are popping up as well, leading into what is some of that advice that you can give to small business, like up and coming, maybe it's somebody who has an idea right now and they just really don't know where to start. What's some advice so that they don't get overwhelmed, but that they're doing that research like you said? What are some of the things that they can start doing?
And Sandra, do you mind if I go back? I feel like I didn't answer your last question, where you asked how could we as a public support these businesses. So we have to purchase. We have to use our money.
Yes.
To support, like,
money.
Where's the money? Yeah, we have to. And sometimes small businesses, they will give discounts, and they're not the ones that can give discounts because they're not buying things in bulk, right? They're not getting, the benefits from.
Say that again. Hold on. That's so important, because we as consumers, we just see a business, we walk through the door, we get our product, we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And what you said is so true. They do not buy in bulk the way that these bigger businesses do.
These big box stores, exactly, because they're the ones that can afford to give us things at a super discounted price, but small businesses can't, right? They're not buying at volume, and they're doing a lot of things by hand. And so their prices should be higher, but yet a lot of small businesses the way that they try and sell, or the tactics they try, sell tactics they try and use, is by giving us things at a discount. And we're actually doing a disservice to them, and they're doing a disservice to themselves, because they're lowering, their prices when they can't afford to do that. And so I think that if we really do want to support small businesses, is that we have to pay them, pay them the full price, not ask them for, not ask them for discounts. And also for us to, as if you're able to like search out for other non like big box stores, or like these huge retailers, or these fast food restaurants, and think about, replacing one of those fast foods, or going to a really fancy restaurant, to ordering from a smaller business, or from a caterer.
Yeah. And these small, let's take for example restaurants, the small mom and pop restaurants, they're in every city, right? So if we jump on Yelp or Google, look it up, what's around the area, it will pop up.
Yes, there's millions of small businesses, and so it takes a little bit more effort, right? Because they don't have the marketing dollars as the huge restaurants have, so they're not, they're not going to have the billboards. They're not going to have like, the most beautiful pictures probably on, on social media, or have PR, or have all the articles written about them, because they can't afford it. And so it does take a little bit more from us probably to search them out, but there's millions of small businesses. And I think that it's so important that we do support these mom and pops, because
you reminded me of something. There's also, so money talks. So where we spend our dollars is a big impact. But I also remember when you helped one of the most amazing restaurants, Lolo, in San Francisco, with their media and their photos. And so if people have those skills as well, they could approach some of these businesses and as a volunteer, or maybe for free, help them launch a little bit of.
I like that.
Do you think that's something that would be so needed and accepted?
For sure. Absolutely. I think that's such an awesome idea, Sandra. And I've actually had clients who they've been approached by, for example, an architect that did pro bono work for them, and then they won a James Beard Award for design.
Wow.
And it's because this architecture firm really, believed in my client's mission. They believed, they had a great product, and this is the type of, type of work that could be so, incredibly helpful for a small business, for them to finally, be able to, be catapulted into a different category. And so that's such a great example, Sandra. And I've seen it with a lot of my clients, that people have approached them to do either pro bono or at a discounted rate. So I think that's such a great example, Sandra.
Yes. And I have to repeat that, so important to support the small businesses. These are family owned restaurants, little shops in the neighborhood. They do rely on the local community, and they are part of our community. And so
absolutely. And you could also, like, I feel what's super exciting is that a lot of them will bring something that's different to the market. And so we'll be able to taste food that we probably didn't even know that, that existed. And so it's also exciting because there's so much creativity, so much different culture and history that I feel we're going to lose if we don't support different people in the community by purchasing. And I've just seen and have been able to taste so much food, even from my own country, that I had never tasted. And desserts from different countries as well, that I'm like, what? I didn't know this existed. So I feel like by supporting small businesses, we also get to try new products. And that's how, I feel like it's also exciting to see all this creativity and learn about new things, about new products and services.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And one other thing that also for supporting the small businesses, going back to the advice that you would give, what's some advice that you would give to people who are right now with an idea that maybe they already started on Instagram a little bit? I've been seeing a lot of that.
Me
With
too.
food, whether it's jewelry, art. I mean, there's so much creativity. And it is very unique pieces of product that they're bringing in. And how can they get to that next level?
Good. Yeah, good question. I was writing stuff down. So one of the things is write stuff down because we have so many great ideas, I'm sure, all of the time. And we go through so much in one day that we may forget that wonderful idea that we had. So I would say write stuff down. And it's really important that we realize and that we recognize, what do you want to sell and what are you selling? Because we need clarity before you can have any sort of success in your business. There has to be clarity in terms of what is this business doing? And so I would say figure out what are you selling, figure out who are you selling it to, which is one of the most difficult things, is trying to figure out who your target market is. But I think figuring out, figuring what type of people like this product or service. I think what's also really important is to recognize and be able to communicate what solution are you bringing to the market, or what need or desire are you fulfilling? Because for a business to be successful, you have to be meeting a need or fulfilling a need or a desire, and being able to communicate that is so important. And so I feel like we can achieve a lot of clarity by asking ourselves those questions, documenting them, and to communicate them. The other thing that it's really important for someone to be able to communicate is what is it that is different or desirable, from your product or your service. And once again, be able to communicate what makes your product or service different and desirable. So I feel like those are the basics of a business model, and it's really important to know those things. And the other really big part is figuring out your numbers. And I could go on hours and hours on that, because that's
a
my
whole
favorite
webinar. A whole webinar on that.
whole webinars. But once again, start, for those of you who have an idea or who have started to do, started your business on social media or at a farmer's market, or just, selling to friends and family, start documenting down all of your costs. Start documenting all of your sales so that we can figure out, or you can figure out. I'm already starting to think I'm in a consultation right now. And then I'm like, starting to figure out, what those costs look like if you're making any margins. But you get so much clarity from documenting everything down.
Yeah.
And I would say search for resources, take a business class, because it's not just so that you can say, oh, check mark, I did a business plan. It's really the process of doing your business plan that's what's really, really helpful in a business. So document.
Oh my God. Yeah. 2 gold nuggets that I have to repeat here. One is what you said about who is this product for? Because a lot of times, maybe in your mind, you know what it's for, and you can feel who it's for, and you're living it, you're breathing it, and you're making it. And so you feel like, well, I know exactly who this is for in your mind, but you have to write it down. Like the practice of writing it down, like you're saying, it brings a lot more clarity, focus, and organization. So I really love that you stress that, because a lot of times it's hard to write. It is hard to sit down and write, but it's also, like you're saying, such a crucial part of the process. And then the second thing, which is, it is a process. Like, you're not just gonna boom, have the idea and get to the end in a day, in a week, in a month, or even a year. Like you have to go through that process and take the class like you said, do the workshops, go to your Zoom, the trainings that you have, like somebody like you who's such a great resource, and reach out to people. Like if you, for even on Instagram, like if someone reached out to you, I'm sure you would willingly respond and try to do what you can to help them, right? So you're completely approachable. And so actually, yeah, tell us about how people can get a hold of you, what you're maybe offering right now in terms of workshops, and how they can stay in touch so that they know what Viri is up next.
Yes. And just going back again to what you were talking about, that it's a whole process. It's a journey, and we know that, right? Like, it's a whole journey that a whole journey, girl.
Yeah.
That I don't know if we ever get off that journey, because it's right. It's just like constant evolution, constant development, and that's what's super exciting about being your own boss, that it doesn't stop. Because once, I feel like we always have to continuously push ourselves, because no one's going to come and tell you, hey, like, it's time for you to think of your next plan, or for you to, think about what's next. It's something that comes with being an entrepreneur, is that we constantly need to push forward. And so I feel like, what you mentioned, like, sometimes it takes more than a year to do this, and it's just a continuous learning. And I think that's what's really beautiful about this whole journey of being an empresaria. And so I think that, so if someone does want to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, vpconsultingsf.com, and I post different events that I have there. You can learn more about my bio and the types of services and type of clients that I have served before. And so right now, everything I do is guided by my calendar. So I'd have to go into my calendar to see what's coming up next. I've just finished a whole bunch of different workshops and courses. This summer, I taught, I think, probably like 25 to 30 classes.
Awesome.
Or probably more, but I do have a class that is coming up. If you give me a second, I'm guided by my calendar, so I do that so that I don't have to retain information.
We do not want to miss it. Whoever can attend, and if it's something that's calling you and you're wanting to start your own business, or you are starting your business, these are such great resources and classes to take advantage of.
Sí, a ver, entonces these classes will be in Spanish, and so the next class that I have, and it's all about achieving that clarity in your business and trying to determine if you do want to pursue this idea or this passion that you have. And so this class is called Comienza con Confianza. It's a 6-week class where we are going to go through all of the questions that I mentioned. For example, what are you selling? Who's your target market? Being able to define what your unique value proposition is, starting to think about your finances. And so it's starting to develop your business model. And I love it because in 6 weeks, I see how much people grow and how concrete their idea can become in just 6 weeks. So the next course that I'm starting for Comienza con Confianza will be September 10th from 5 to 8.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it will be only in Spanish. If you are interested in English classes, then, people can connect with me directly, either by going on my website, vpconsultingsf.com, or else emailing me at vpconsultingsf@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And then the other course that I'm going to have, which will be the same course also in Spanish, will be October 20th from 5 to 8. Will also be the same course, also in Spanish. And then I'll be posting the rest of my courses on my website shortly. So they're not on right now, but I'll Monday.
I said, perfect timing. We got you at such a good time, just in time for the classes coming in the fall. So yes, I will make sure to post that and repost it on Instagram when the dates approach. And before we, yeah, go ahead.
I also wanted to say that I post on Instagram a lot of the workshops or events that I'm either co-hosting or when I'm a guest speaker. So that's also a good way. If it's not posted on my website, then I will post it on Instagram. So also my Instagram's a great place, which is just at Ponce Viri, Ponceviri. I also post all my events and workshops there.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. So ladies, gentlemen, whoever has been thinking about an idea, this is your message. This is your sign to do it. Go for it. Reach out to Viri. She's an absolutely great resource. So approachable, super, she knows so much. And that's just like the beauty of that, your kindness and like how much you give, but you actually know so much and you have so much experience. So lucky to have you. The community is lucky to have you. And before we finish, share with us what's something how do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of Viri? Because you do so much for everyone else and give so much of yourself. How do you bring it back to recenter and to ground yourself?
So I feel like I need to be better at that, but what I do, and what's really helpful to me is to be out in nature. And so I love going out hiking and taking a couple of big hiking trips throughout the year. And so that just really helps me to recenter, right? And to be able to reset and, just be renewed. So for me, it's really being outside, like being out in the trees, being out in the water and walking. That just helps just refocus me again. And so actually hopefully in a couple of weeks, it's a little uncertain because of everything that's been going on, I'll be able to take a little trip again. And most recently it's been being out in my backyard. I moved to a place where I have a beautiful backyard and there's so much green. And so that just brings me so much energy and so much life, just laying out in the grass and just looking at the beautiful trees.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I love that it's so important to have that peaceful, safe, quiet place to come back to. And wow, so we're gonna have to do this again because you have so many events coming up and so much that you're doing, and we're gonna keep on sharing everything keep on sharing what you're doing and how people can get involved, because the small businesses, they are our community, they're part of our community. And so the more that we know about them and what it takes to be a small business, the more that we can keep on supporting. And really, it just, like you said, we need them in our community. We really do. Yeah, so I love that you said that. And I don't want to let you go. I'm like, no.
Amiga, I know we always talk for hours. I was like, are we really going to be able to do this in this amount of time?
Under an hour? Yeah. So I guess it's goodbye for now, but not forever. What is maybe your last words of wisdom that you want to share?
Yeah, just going back to the question that I asked myself over 10 years ago, changed my life. And I would just say to make sure that you're always connecting with yourself and to ask yourself, what is it that you want? And it doesn't mean that we all have to start a business up, but I just think doing that check-in of like, ¿qué quiero yo? ¿Verdad? ¿Qué quiero? And to really say your name, right? So I would say, this is the question I asked myself, is like, Viri, ¿qué quieres? And to really answer yourself and really take that time to respond to yourself. And I think that's just, it's so powerful what it does to your brain. And you know, and how for me it was one simple question, one simple response that has changed my entire life, and that's helped guide me. And so doesn't mean we all have to start a business, but take that time to connect with yourself and to do those check-ins with yourself.
Love it so much. Viri, you are a gem. You are a gem. You're a diamond in our community. Love you so much, and
I love you so much.
So proud of everything that you're doing. And
gracias, amiga.
So for now, we'll conclude, but we will be keeping in touch with Viri and hearing so much more about Amigas Empresarias, VP Consulting. So stay tuned.
Gracias.
Yeah.
Adios, amiga. Thank you so much for bringing these stories of different women with different experiences, because it's so important, once again, in our community, just to hear these different experiences and journeys and see qué es lo que podemos aprender from everybody. So I just really appreciate this, and I know that everyone appreciates this so much. So thank you for taking that initiative of bringing stories and allowing people to share their stories with others. That's so powerful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Love everything that you're doing, Viri. And this was so much fun. So much fun and so much learning. Nos vemos.
I love you.
Love you. Bye.